Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for the Legal 500 Meet the Editor India City Focus Research webinar. My name is Chris Cook, Head of Business Development for India with the Legal 500, and I'm joined today with the Editor of Asia Pacific, Ms. Bei Zhao. Bei will be taking us through, a step-by-step process on how to prepare an effective submission for Asia Pacific Guide, whilst also explaining our brand new India City Focus Research, with deadlines approaching on the 10th of June 2022. We will then hear from myself at the end, discussing the Legal 500 commercial initiatives and how law firms can better engage with their audiences online. We will then have some time at the end for questions, but feel free to use the Q&A function on Zoom to post any questions now. So just to give you a bit of a background on the Legal 500, the Legal 500 is the market-leading publisher of legal information, which has been active since 1987. We provide in-depth research and analysis to corporate legal clients and work with over 20,000 law firms worldwide. Our research covers over 150 jurisdictions. The Legal 500 is the most comprehensive referral platform for law firms, barrister chambers, legal recruiters, general counsel, in-house teams, and suppliers of legal services. We have an impressive portfolio of leading research and data-driven initiatives with publications such as the 500 magazine, the In-House Lawyer, our comparative guides, our GC magazine, and our flagship event, the GC Power List. And we provide law firms with thought leadership and opportunities. We've produced over 150 events and webinars globally each year, and 15 so far in India, with titles such as our GC Summit, which we've held in Mumbai, our Dispute Summit, which we've held in New Delhi, and our GC Power List, which we will be back in Delhi for this year, September, for its 5th edition. The events and webinars and that we've done so far range from award ceremonies. We've held summits in India, we've held roundtables, we do forums, we do dinners, and then of course I mentioned the renowned GC Power List series, and all of these events brought together 5,000 plus delegates across Asia Pacific in 2019 alone. Since the pandemic, we've launched new initiatives such as the Legal 500 webinars, the Legal 500 podcast, and our corporate conversations to really cater to the way that content is consumed in the modern era itself. Moving on to the next slide, we see how the Legal 500 homepage here. And how easy it is to navigate the website. So I've mentioned our rankings, our profiles, our power list. These can be all found quite easily through our tabs at the top of the page, which are streamlined in an easy and effective manner for clients to navigate our page quite easily. I will now be passing over to Ms. Bei Zhao to run you through our editorial side of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, in today's webinar, we will be going through the research process in details and to provide tips on preparing your submissions ahead of the next edition. Now, what brought everyone here today is partly because we've introduced our India City Focus Research in 2022. And ahead of the deadline in June, we thought to use this opportunity to introduce ourselves and to explain step by step how to best take part in our research. You might start wonder why should our firm participate in the Legal 500 research? What sets us apart from our competitors? Well, the Legal 500 is seen as an essential referee tool that helps business choose the right law firm, and is extensively used by in-house counsel, business leaders, and law firms globally. Our website has a large number of users annually, and India is a huge market for us. attracting over 400,000 users for our to our website in the past 12 months. The ranking themselves are done every year, and we have a set of criteria which I'll be going through in my presentation later on. But simply put, we highlight practice area teams who are providing the most cutting edge and innovative advice to corporate counsel. And our research is based on contacting clients, over 300,000 clients globally, and submission firms provided by the law firms, and our interviews by our research team with the leading private practice lawyers globally, including India, and we hope we will be engaging with the India city-focused cities, which we've introduced in the Asia Pacific Guide this year, to finalize our research to rank the best of the best in each of the cities we are introducing in our India Guide this year. Now, just give you a bit of a background figure of our Asia Pacific guide. In the 2022 guide, which was published in January this year, we had 4,974 firm rankings. And alongside firm rankings, we also recognize leading individuals within each practice areas within each market. And in our Asia Pacific guide, we've recognized over 5,000 individuals. And there are also new firms that get into our ranking, and firms that might have not been ranked previously in certain areas get into the ranking. So overall, we had 600, nearly 700 new rankings in our 2022 guide. Okay, now let's get into how law firms can take part in our research. I've set out the step-by-step guide for how you can start preparing your submission and start preparing to take part in our research. Now, the first step you need to do is apply for a submission portal account by visiting our FAQ page. The FAQ page can be found from our website, and also this presentation can be shared with you after the webinar as well, so you know the link of where to find the information. So it's on our website is the Legal 500 under using the portal question. How do we access Legal 500 portal submission site, where you will be able to apply for a new account if your firm has not previously submitted to us before. The second step you need to follow is find the Asia Pacific submission site. Don't worry if you don't know where to find that, because I'll be going through that again on our website later. I just wanted to go through the step-by-step for now to show you. So find the Asia Pacific submission site, the Legal 500, where you will be able to find the up-to-date submission template. So when I say up-to-date, we actually do make small changes to our submission template year by year, each year. So make sure that you're using the right submission template and referee spreadsheet. And on the same Asia Pacific submission site, you'll be able to also find deadlines, guidelines, practice area definitions, researchers' contact details, and the full list of practice areas and jurisdictions covered in the Asia Pacific site. Okay, once you've obtained all this information, I think the next step is to decide which areas your law firm wish to submit and start preparing for the submission and referee template. So the submission is where you provide information about your team, the key individuals, recent development within your firm and the team, clients you advise, whether that's new clients or established clients, and matter highlights. So the detailed information of the work your firm had done for these clients in the past 12 months. And this referee template is where you prepare a list of referees who are able to provide feedback for the service they received from your law firm. So we will reach to those referees and we will ask them to provide feedback to us. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, that will be part of the ranking criteria. We'll assess the feedback from the referees as well as the information provided in the submission. Now, once the submissions and referee templates, referee spreadsheet are completed, please log into the submission site and upload the submission and referee spreadsheet using the submission site. And the submission will be reviewed by the researcher when the research starts, and selected firms will be invited to be interviewed. The referees will also be contacted by email and will be asked to provide their feedback. The research will generally conclude at the end of August. So there are a couple of months for our team to start the research, interview firms, review the submissions, contact the referees, and put everything together, put the research together, ranking together, and the research generally concludes at the end of August. And after that, there's just one last step, number 8, when our Asia Pacific guide will be published in January the following year. And that's generally the schedule for our Asia Pacific guide every year. So if you keep that in mind, you will know when you should be preparing a submission to us, which is generally in June, and the research starts in July, ends in August, and the guide is published the following January. Okay, now I thought we talked about the step by step, and I thought to just actually show you where they are, where you can find the information on our website. So briefly, when Chris showed you the website earlier, you can see that on our homepage, there's ranking on top, profile, GC power list, where there's it says about, and it says contact us, FAQ about the Legal 500. All you need to do is to scroll down to submission information. Okay, so if you click on the submission information, it should show you the next page. Where you can find not only Asia Pacific guide, but also all the guides we cover: Canada, Caribbean, Deutschland, EMEA, Latin America. So if you want to find out Asia Pacific guide specific information, you click on Asia Pacific submissions. And that's where you can find the relevant information. The deadlines I mentioned. This year, the deadline is 10th of June, Friday, 10th of June. Editorial submission deadline is that date as well. Follow-up research starts on the 4th of July. Submission template. So for the India City Focus submission, India Focus City Focus research, you need to use a specific submission template, which you can see on the screen, new India City Focus submission form below. So that's where you need to download the correct form. And the referee spreadsheet is just above on that long list, where you can see referee spreadsheet law firm updated with new India City Focus practice areas. So these are the 2 documents you need to download and start preparing. And I also mentioned you can find the law firm guidelines and practice area definitions. These are also useful information if you're unsure what kind of work, what area of work we would consider in, for example, corporate M&A or dispute resolution. It might be worth going into the practice area definition website just to check, to make sure that all the work you put in your submission are relevant and will be considered by us for this particular practice area. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see I've listed a few practice areas. So these are the areas we've introduced in the city focus sections this year. For Mumbai, for New Delhi, we've introduced banking and finance, corporate, commercial, corporate M&A, dispute resolution, intellectual property, TMT, real estate and construction. So if your firm is based in Mumbai or New Delhi or both, you can submit for banking and finance, for all of these practice areas, but please be mindful that you prepare 1 submission for 1 practice area and 1 referee spreadsheet for each practice area you're submitting. Okay, now I've listed all the new areas we've introduced this year. And as you saw in the previous slides, we've introduced the Mumbai, New Delhi, Bengaluru, and for these 3 cities, we're covering 6 practice areas. So like I said in just now, if you're based in Mumbai, if your office is based in Mumbai, you wish to submit, you can submit for any of those practice areas or all of those practice areas. And if your firm has offices in Mumbai, New Delhi, Bangalore, Kochi, and Noida, then you can prepare submissions for all of those offices where you feel where you wish to take part in our research. So unlike Mumbai, New Delhi, and Bangalore, for all the other cities, we've decided to introduce a leading firms section. So unlike Mumbai, New Delhi, and Bangalore, we have different practice areas. The leading firms section will include a breadth of the practice areas, including typically banking and finance, corporate M&A, disputes, IP, employment, TMT, real estate and construction. So you can put a collection of matters where your firm is particularly strong and include in the presentation. Okay, so now you might there might be firms on our presentation today that might wonder, we're already ranked in the national ranking. What's the difference between the national rankings and the regional rankings, and how can we take part to best display our firm's strengths in not only Mumbai and New Delhi, but also in other cities as well, if we have office. I thought I'll go through all these questions, and some of them will probably address some of the questions that has already been asked. But if it doesn't, then I will address it at the end. So in terms of the national rankings, which we have been doing for a large number of years, and the regional rankings, which we've only introduced this year, the difference is that a law firm can only be ranked in either the national ranking or the regional ranking. And firms that we recognize in the national rankings generally are based in Mumbai and New Delhi, but that's not to say if a Chandigarh-based firm can't take part in the national research. It's basically we're assessing firms by merit. We're looking at firms' strength and their market position and the type of work they're able to attract from their clients. So if you haven't participated in our national rankings before, but you think you have a good chance of getting into the national ranking, I'd say the first step you could do is to have a look at the national rankings and see if any of the firms on that list are direct competitors of your firm. If they are, then I think you've got a good chance of participating in the national research. And if you're unfamiliar with all of those firms, then perhaps maybe the regional ranking is a good sections for you to consider to submit for this year. And how do I decide if my firm should submit for national rankings or regional rankings? I think also you can look at the kind of the practice areas we cover, and also the kind of the practice area definition to see which ones is best for you. And if you still can't decide and you still have questions, obviously you can reach out to me and I can certainly give you my input. Can you submit for both national rankings and the city focus sections? Yes, you can. But like I said, you will only be ranked in either the national rankings or the city focus sections. So for example, if you have a very strong real estate and construction practice in Bangalore, and you want to submit for the regional rankings, but you think you are also competing with some of the ranked firms in our guide, then you can submit for both, and our research team will assess and compare to see which one is best suitable for your firm to be ranked. Now, we are already ranking a large number of India firms in our India guide, and those firms might wonder, well, how can we showcase our strength in the cities that you've listed apart from Mumbai, New Delhi, and Bangalore? What we have decided is for all the other cities apart from New Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, we would include a national city of note in those sections of Chennai, Chandigarh, Noida, all those cities that I listed in the previous slide. And you don't need to submit any additional information for that, but it might be useful to reach out to the relevant researcher during the research to provide a bit of information of your presence in that particular office. So we would list your firm's name as one of the firms that have presence in that city, but it's not really considered as a ranking. So your ranking for the national guide would be the most clients and our readers would be referring to. Okay, so in terms of the practice area definitions, you might, for a firm that hasn't participated in our research before, you might wonder what kind of work is considered. How do we know we're putting the right types of work? As you remember in the Asia-Pacific submission site, I pointed to you where you can find the practice area definitions. So that will include all the practice areas we are introducing in our India city focus research, as well as in our Asia-Pacific guide. So you can reference those and make sure that the work that you're putting in each submission you'll put forward to us are relevant and are good work highlights that can be considered during the research. What practice areas are covered in the leading firm section? Okay, so the leading firms, it covers a broad range of practice areas, like I said, employment, tax, banking and finance, projects, energy. It really is just an area where we want to see the core practice area and the focus of the firm in that particular office. So when in terms of selecting the individuals and in terms of selecting the matter highlights, make sure you keep that in mind, selecting a range of individuals and range of cases to show us the collective strength of your practice, of your firm in that particular office. Now, which practice areas should I submit? I think it really, depending on which practice areas you see your firm is particularly strong at, and have a look at the practice area definition and see whether your firm handles most or majority of the practice area we've listed in our practice area definition. So if you are a boutique firm that only really handle a small one type of work, unless you are a leader in the market, otherwise I think we do assess the breadth of the practice. So it would be a little bit, it probably will be a little bit more difficult for a firm with a very, very, very niche focus to get into the ranking unless they are the market leader of that particular area. Can I put the same matter in different practice area submissions? So for example, a construction dispute? Yes, you absolutely can. But I would recommend you to keep in mind that if you're putting a construction dispute in both construction submission and dispute resolution submission, make sure we are assessing firms' strengths and expertise in a different angle in these areas. So I would say if all of your matters in the dispute resolution submission are construction disputes, then comparing the next firm who handles shareholder disputes, commercial disputes, litigation and arbitration, a breadth of the practice, then construction disputes might come as too narrow. So it goes back to the point that I made earlier, unless you are the market leader of that particular practice. Now, same also applies for construction dispute, construction submission. If all of the construction matters in the construction submission are disputes, then comparing other firms who also handles non-contentious work or financing work and more kind of regulatory work, then your firm might considered as too narrow for that particular practice. So make sure that you check the practice area definition and putting forward cases that collectively showcase the breadth and depth of your practice. individual recommendation. So earlier when I talked about law firm recommendation, I also mentioned that we have individual recommendation as well as law firm recommendation. So you might wonder, how do I choose which law firms in our team to recommend in the leading individuals and other key lawyer sections in the submission? I would say you choose the lawyers that have a well-established presence in the market and are recognized by both clients and peers. So peers, we will obviously conduct interviews during the research. So we'll ask which law firms or which lawyers they've come across in the particular practice areas. And that's how we collect the peer feedback. And in terms of the client feedback, we reach out to the clients when we contact them during the research, and their feedback is considered during the whole research process. But I think also it's important to keep in mind, if you're selecting two lawyers, so for example, you're selecting two lawyers as leading individuals, make sure that you provide evidence that they're still active in handling cases, and they highlight they highlighted in the matter highlights. So if you provide two people's name and provided a little bit of information about what they do, what's their expertise are, but they don't appear in any work highlights, then it's very difficult for us to assess why we should be recommending that individual. So I think it's good to keep in mind that, make sure you provide evidence for us. And if you're providing a couple of people for leading individuals, make sure you also provide clients that are able to provide feedback for those individuals. So I think that's important. And how do we choose which lawyers to recommend in our guide? Like I said, peer feedback, continued presence in the market, continuously active in handling cases, especially the most high profile cases the firm put forward in the submission, and good feedback from both clients and referees. How many lawyers should we include in the individual recommendation sections? So I would recommend for the leading individuals, put forward no more than 3 lawyers. And for the other key lawyer sections, ideally 3, but no more than 5, depending on obviously the size of your practice. And I think especially for leading firms sections for the other 10 cities, you might wish to put forward kind of the one lead individual in each subcategories. Okay, now how to make a good submission. So as you would imagine, submission quality varies, and you would want to make a very efficient submission submitting to us, especially if you're submitting for the first time. I would say the general point is, sell yourself. What really makes you different from your peers? Do you have a particular industry focus or areas of a specialism that you think you're quite unique in the market? Tell us, and tell us in the practice overview in the submission, but also to demonstrate by providing us examples, which individuals specialize in this area, what has he or she done in this particular practice areas, and why is it innovative? Why is it complex? Explain it briefly in the submission. Focus on facts to demonstrate your position. So tell us about the growth, hires, lateral hires, new client wins, or innovations you've introduced in the past couple of years. I think innovations has become even more important in the past couple of years with the pandemic. Since the pandemic. So I think we're also highlighting more and more about the law firm's innovation in delivering efficient service to their clients. So if that's something that your firm has been particularly developing in the past couple of years, make sure you highlight that in the submission as well. Use meta highlights wisely. So we don't advise firms to provide too much information, but too little information is also not good either. If you just say, we advised company A in a construction dispute. Now, how can we tell if that's an important matter? How can we tell the complexity involved? It's important to showcase the nature of the matter, whether that's a contentious matter or a non-contentious matter, or IP dispute or IP prosecution work. Make sure you tell us why this case, among other cases your team had handled has been chosen as a representative case to showcase to the Legal 500. That's very important. Talk about your strategic growth plans for the practice. So for example, if your firm in the IP area, intellectual property area, you're looking to expand your healthcare and life sciences focus, then maybe expand that in your submission and demonstrate to us what you're planning to do in the next 3 to 5 years. And if you want an interview, get your request in early, but be aware that your ranking won't be affected by a lack of interview. So our research team try to interview as many firms as we can during the research, but ultimately we are unable to interview everybody. So if you reach out to us when the research starts, and we're in our Asia Pacific submission site, you will find where you'll find the information regarding when the research starts. For this year, it's 4th of July. So if you want an interview, check who the relevant researcher is, get in touch with them fairly early during the research and say, we would like to arrange an interview with you. Is that possible? And if our researchers calendar allows, we definitely would accommodate to the request. But if you request towards the end of the research, then maybe the calendar has been completely booked and it might be difficult to accommodate such a request. Now, prepare your partners for the interviews. I think researchers want useful information and honest feedback on rankings and not the marketing stuff. So make sure that the partners or the lawyers that you put forward for the interviews can talk about not only his or her practice, but also the offering of your firm in that particular practice area or in that particular office as a whole. So that will be more important to our researcher than just the one partner knowing his or her own practice, but doesn't really have an overview picture of the firm or the practice. Submit on time and in the right format. That's very important. Both the submission and the referee spreadsheet. Make sure you submit using our template. Make sure you submit on time. If you submit late, the referees might not be contacted, and obviously it would affect your firm's ranking as well, because referee feedback is an important part of what we assess when we rank firms. Finally, make sure the submission is precise and includes all the information we ask for. Every single bit of the information we ask for in the submission template are useful information, our information we use to assess. So try to fill in the information as much as possible and provide the information as much as possible in all the areas we ask. Okay, now rankings. You might wonder, how do we make that ranking decision? And with all these points that I've mentioned and all the information we ask you to provide in the submission, how does it all work? Putting everything together and providing a ranking table of a firm in a particular city or in a particular practice area. So the most important factors we take into consideration are recent work and recent historical track record. Given that we've introduced the city focus research this year, I think it's important that you provide matter highlights from the past 12 months, but in the practice overview section, provide some of the matters that your team might have handled in the past 2 to 5 years as a kind of more of a background information, so we can build a rounded picture of what your firm is capable of doing. But I'd mention or highlight that in the matter highlights section, make sure you're focusing on providing work your team had handled in the past 12 months. Now, the secondary factors we take into consideration are the breadth of practice coverage, breadth of industry coverage, depth of experience of team, or changes to the team. So, for example, if you've recruited a few key individuals from a competitor and they've brought in, they've either enhanced the existing offering or they've brought in new areas of offering in a particular practice area. Those are all positive information to us and to the research team. Client and other referee feedback. That's one of the factors we take into consideration. Ancillary services and innovations. So ancillary services, what we mean by that is, for example, in the commercial, corporate, and M&A practice area, if your firm also have capability in handling the relevant tax, competition, or IP matters, then you can provide basic information. But obviously, in a corporate and M&A submission, we want to see corporate and M&A work. But it's important to know whether you have capability in handling other related area that's relevant to that particular transaction. And finally, the ranking decision is a comparison process. So we would look at your firm benchmarked against other competitors in the same market or in the same practice area. Okay, so there are some common mistakes and things to watch out for that I'd like to kind of highlight it to you. The best submissions will make most use of all the fields included in our submission template. If you don't submit or submit late or not going through the proper channel when submitting, these all affects the end result. And firms using incorrect submissions also affect what information can be displayed on our website. And firms rearranging boxes and deleting boxes, just make sure that you don't make any changes to our submission template. If you decided not to fill in a particular section, leave it blank rather than deleting or removing or just change anything. And make sure you're not focusing too much on the awards or academic engagement, because as we mentioned earlier at the very beginning of the presentation, our ranking guide is mostly used by in-house counsels and law firms. So we're mostly interested in what the clients would want to see, and we're showcasing those through our research, through our rankings as well. So make sure that the submission demonstrates all of that, and make sure the submissions are effectively demonstrating all of that. Firms that submit for the first time or previously unranked send a very short document that lacks information about the teams or the work. Sometimes firms put a submission together and only include 1 or 2 matter highlights. Obviously, like I said, we assess firms through by looking at their industry coverage, by looking at the scope of the practice. By only looking at 1 or 2 matters, it really puts us in a difficult position to fully assess where the firm could be in the market. Now, in terms of the work highlights, firms could include too little or too many matter highlights, or same type of work, and it only reflects part of the practice, or including the wrong type of work. So making sure you check this practice area definition is very important. And not including 3 publishable matters. So on our website, once the firm is ranked, we would have the firm ranking, we would have key clients. These are the publishable clients law firms provide to us and give us permission to publish them on our website. And we would also publish 3 matter summaries. And these are also information provided by the law firm that can be published on our website. So if those information are not provided to us, then obviously we can't publish those. And your firm would have very limited information to showcase on our website if the firm is ranked. Okay, next slide. Now, team. Okay, so in terms of the team information, some firms might include lawyers from other practice group or lawyers who only spend very limited time in a particular practice area. Our rankings are very competitive, and we want law firms to put genuinely lawyers who specialize in that area in the submission. So make sure that you take that into consideration and put lawyers that regularly handle work in that particular practice area, rather than just someone who happened to have 1 or 2 cases in the past year in this particular practice areas. Firms with offices in Mumbai, New Delhi, and other cities, make sure you submit separate submission for each city with intent to be considered for ranking. Okay. I mentioned when we talked about individual recommendations, so make sure that if you're recommending a particular lawyer, they feature in the work highlights. And if you're recommending a particular lawyer, make sure you include their track record and their recent matters and their areas of specialism in the relevant box in the submission. And some firms purposely not include information regarding team changes, including lawyers that might have retired or left the practice, or including a long list of new joiners who are not relevant to this particular practice area. I think it's important to make sure that you provide us up-to-date information. So when our guide is published, it's as close it's as updated as possible. So please provide us with relevant information. If someone has left the practice, then during the research we can address it. We can discuss it and say what's your plan for his or her departure. Are you planning to recruit someone? These can also all be discussed, so the researcher can fully assess the impact of the departure. Whereas if it's left just undiscussed, then it's hard to keep a precise picture of the impact, and that might affect the firm's ranking. Okay, recommend far too many individuals. So if law firms recommend far too many individuals, then it puts us in a difficult position to actually pick out who is mostly worth recommending. So our research is still generally focused on assessing the bench strength of the team. We have individual sections which we recommend individual lawyers, but those lists we've purposely kept very very short to make sure that we're recommending the best of the best in the market and in the particular practice area. Referee spreadsheet. So the referee spreadsheet is very important. Make sure you submit on time and make sure you're filling one spreadsheet covering each practice area you intend to submit. Now you might want to ask, what if I have a particular client that I want to put forward for construction and dispute resolution? You can put the same client in different practice area referee spreadsheet, but you have to fill in the spreadsheet separately for each practice area. And similar to submission template, make sure you don't delete or add any rows. Make sure you follow our instructions. The instruction, I think it tells you step 1. So if you make sure you complete step 1, the step 2 and step 3 will be available to you. We've had quite a few issues of firms saying this referee spreadsheet doesn't work. You just need to follow instructions provided in the template. Some firms submit referees that have not worked with the firm in the past 3 years. We want recent and relevant feedback for the team and for the firm and for the individuals. So make sure you provide referees that are able to provide feedback regarding their recent experience with the firm and with the individuals at the firm. And some law firms choose to select the referees that have very impressive title, but have not directly worked with a team. That's not really a good option, because if we reach out to them and their response is, I've not really worked close with a team, I don't know which individuals in the team that I can put a name to, then that's not something that's relevant or useful for us. It's best to include individuals in the referee spreadsheet that can provide detailed feedback for both the team and the individuals they've worked with. Providing incorrect emails for the referees. Now, we only contact referees by emails, sometimes depending on availability, and if a referee requests, we might be able to accommodate a telephone call for the referees to provide the feedback. But initially, we would contact all the referees by email. So it's very important to make sure all the emails you provided to us in the referee spreadsheet are correct and up to date. Okay, now during the research, As I mentioned earlier, if you want to be interviewed, make sure you get in touch with us early, so you will be you're more likely to be interviewed. But if you don't get an interview, that doesn't mean that your rankings will be affected by it. Unsure how to choose which practice area to be interviewed, I'd say obviously if you submit for 7 practice areas, or if you submit for 10 practice areas, we might not be able to interview for each practice area. So sometimes you have to be mindful to choose a few practice areas. I'd say you choose the one maybe you feel the firm had the most development in the past year, or a new practice areas you wish to highlight to the researcher. Research interviews, we recommend firms to put forward no more than 3 lawyers during the research interview. So make sure you select individuals who not only can talk about their practice, but also give us an overview of the practice of the firm, and information about how the market is developing. That's also very important information to discuss with the firm and with the researchers during the research. Not updating the research if a case is completed, if the confidentiality of a client or case was changed, or if there were arrivals, departures which happened after the submission was prepared. So as you might remember, our research concluded in August, and the guide is published in January. So during that whole period, if there are any updates you think would affect our ranking decision, or affects what's been covered for your practice in terms of the confidentiality or key partner change, make sure you let us know. Make sure you let the relevant researcher know. So we by the time the guide is published, at least we have as up-to-date information as possible. Okay, I think that's all the information I wanted to cover from my side. I'll certainly be able to address some of the questions at the end of the research, but here I've also provided my email address. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll be very happy to answer your questions and make sure that you have an absolute 100% understanding of how to take part in our research, and I'll welcome you to send your submissions and take part in our research this year. Thank you. I'll now pass it on to my colleague, Chris, who will talk about how your law firm can get involved in at the Legal 500 apart from participating in our research.
Thank you very much, Bei. I'll try and keep this as brief and concise as possible, just being mindful of time. But how can your law firm get involved with the Legal 500 over and above the research? Well, from placing a profile to complementing the profile with one of our additional options, to sponsoring an event or co-hosting a webinar with the Legal 500. There really are a multitude of options for how a law firm can engage with the Legal 500, can enhance your visibility on our platform, and really engage with our audience. So what makes the Legal 500 the most relevant place to highlight my law firm? Well, speaking about the audience as such, I'm pleased to announce that the Legal 500 audience has yet again increased over the last the last 12 months, with 6 million unique users, totaling around 20 million page views. Looking at our audience specifically from India, we're very proud that India provides the Legal 500 with our third largest audience online, behind the UK and US respectively, with around 400,000 users in the last 12 months. And looking at the India chapter itself, the India chapter is one of the most viewed, not only within Asia Pacific at the Legal 500, but globally out of any jurisdiction that we cover research for. Looking again at the analytics, we have over 100,000 page views coming to the India chapter since the 1st of Jan. Now, looking at our initiatives over and above the law firm rankings, and why the Legal 500 is the most relevant place to highlight your law firm. In addition to our law firm rankings, the Legal 500 produces a range of products that engage with in-house counsel and law firms throughout the year. These include, our flagship event, the GC Power List, other titles as well that you might be familiar with, such as our comparative guides and our publications such as the 500 magazine, Legal Business, or the In-House Lawyer. We see India as a critically important market for the Legal 500 now and within the next 12 months. And as mentioned, with the expansion of our India rankings, we're considering planning to expand our business in the country. So now the profile package. The profile package really is the easiest way for any law firm to highlight themselves online, to engage with our audience. If you are a ranked firm, then of course the profile enhances your visibility online, because you would already feature in one of our practice area rankings pages. Your name may be unbolded or grayed out, as we say, but with the profile package in place, all hyperlinks are unlocked for the firm. So if you're ranked in 3 practice areas, let's say banking and finance, corporate M&A, IP, clients can come to one of these pages, which are heavily viewed by our audience, and they'll be able to click on your firm name and within one click be taken to your firm profile to view more information on yourselves. For firms who are unranked, the visibility is still excellent. Both ranked and unranked firms are listed within our India law firm directory. And so within the India chapter of the Legal 500, our directory is the most viewed page. I think since the 1st of January, we have over maybe 14,000 page views alone to that one specific page. So clients will be able to find your firm on that page and then be directed to your profile to view more information. And as you can see, the firm profile itself comes with a number of features that really allow you to get your business message across to our audience. Clients often ask me, Chris, we don't know whether this is the right time to take out a profile package, because our law firm is full service, or we operate under these different practice areas, but we're only ranked in banking and finance in one practice area, and so we don't want to give off the impression that we're like a boutique firm. And my argument generally is that the firm profile provides you with the perfect outlet to explain to our audience the real depth of your law firm. You have a firm profile section which comes with an unlimited word count to really get your to really explain the history of your law firm and the areas of practice that are most relevant right now to our audience. You can then see options such as client testimonials. We have a notable cases section. We have a new international capabilities tab. All sections which can be updated throughout the year, but that really allow you to depict yourself to our audience in the best way possible. And of course, historical data is a tool which is included within our profile package that will allow any user to track Legal 500 rankings, not only in Asia Pacific, but globally since 2008. So that includes law firm rankings and individual rankings. So it's really helpful for you if you want to gain a perspective of the market in India and how it's developed since 2008, or if you're looking to, let's say, for example, set up some meetings overseas, and you're looking at which law firms you would like to meet with who are similar rankings to yourself. This can all be found through our historical data platform. So again, why your firm should profile with the Legal 500? We believe, based on our visibility, the Legal 500 being the #1 legal referral platform globally, and again, with all the initiatives that we keep on rolling out each year, we are the most relevant place to highlight your law firm, making it easy for clients to validate your firm, or for specific lawyers. And the Legal 500 is available not only on our desktop but also on our mobile app, so it can be used on the go as well. We have over 25,000 page views, making it the most, comprehensive legal referral platform. As I mentioned, we are the most viewed legal referral platform, and we have optimized search results from Google, Yahoo, from Baidu, and this is all down to our SEO. So our search engine optimization. So if a law firm was to sign up with the profile package on the Legal 500, our SEO will help to boost your firm profile higher in the Google search results, and also by displaying your firm's website URL within the profile page. This also helps to further boost up your firm's website in the Google search results. After a 12-month period, as your account manager at the Legal 500, I would look to provide you with Google Analytics of your firm's profile performance over the last 12 months. So we can look at, your page views, your unique users, which countries are the clients coming from who are viewing your profile page, how long are they spending on your page, all useful information from year to year to see, the return on investment, but also how our audience are engaging with your law firm. Now, this page is the India homepage, that the India chapter itself. This is a page that all clients will come to before then going off to view our specific practice area pages. You'll be able to see on the left-hand side a full list of the practice areas covered by the Legal 500 this year, from our antitrust and competition to our shipping practice. This is also a section as well where we offer a number of additional options for firms who are looking to enhance their visibility online or to promote a specific campaign. Now, this might be a campaign where you're looking to focus on brand awareness. And so we have options such as the firms in the spotlight, with a central positioning on the India homepage. You can see an example here centrally with DMD Advocates, with an option that includes a 150 brief word count, introducing the firm, and then a link placed to view your firm profile. We then have other firms who would like to share traffic with the Legal 500 to their firm's website. And this is where we would recommend some of our Legal 500 banners. You can see on the right-hand side examples of our standard banner. And at the top, we have an example of our header banner as well. All banners are animated at the Legal 500 with 3 slides to get your business message across. They feature on every single web page for India. So they'll feature on the homepage, they'll feature on all of the practice area pages, and they'll feature on every single India firm profile, really providing the sponsoring law firms with unrivaled visibility. And within the banner, the firm also have the option to include a URL of your choice, to share the traffic. And so a client can come from any page of the Legal 500, simply click on your banner and be taken to your firm's website homepage within one click. So something that we're really excited for, I know I am, especially towards the end of this year, is the return of our physical events. The last event that we did was in January 2020 for our Dispute Summit in Delhi. So just before the global pandemic. The Legal 500 will be back in September 2022 for our GC Power List. So the GC Power List is more of a networking cocktail reception. It's an event, it's a reception where we will launch the GC Power List, which will be in its 5th year this year, going back to highlighting the leading 100 in-house counsel for India. We alternate year by year from recognizing the individuals to recognizing their teams. And I know that, from our last event, we had over 200 GCs in attendance, and it was a fantastic evening. So we're certainly looking forward to being back in India towards the end of this year. But 2023 is really when our event space for India will kick off. Generally, we look to spend the first half of the year targeting events in Mumbai. So we generally in Mumbai for April, where we hold our Mumbai Summit. And then, of course, towards the end of the year, we are in Delhi for the Power List, but there we also look to hold a dispute summit or other summits in general. But it's also, the opportunity for law firms who are looking for more of a private event where they are the only private practice in attendance, where we can then hold roundtables, dinners, and of course, as Bay mentioned, with the expansion of our India rankings this year, we're not only looking to be in India, in Delhi and Mumbai, we're really looking forward to expanding our coverage of event spaces as well to outside Delhi and Mumbai. I know that I've spoken to many firms about events in Bangalore, in Chennai, and doing something in Jaipur, something in Gujarat. And so if this essentially is an opportunity of interest to yourselves to do something maybe in Mumbai or in Delhi or outside, please do get in touch, and we can discuss some of the events that we have on the horizon, and maybe see what sort of an event would be best for the firm to partner with. But why should you partner with the Legal 500? We believe that our events allow law firms the opportunity to raise your firm's profile within a specific practice or within a specific sector, to align yourself with the hot topic that is being discussed at the moment. For our summits, we generally tend to have 80 to 100 general counsel in attendance. And so it's a great opportunity to be put in front of this audience, and also to be at an event where we promote networking at the end, and of course share the data with the sponsoring law firms. And of course, all branding is kept online with the Legal 500 and all of our social media platforms as well for a period of 12 months. And so you have this ongoing branding which extends past the day of the event. Here we see some of the pictures. So at the top left-hand side, you can see our Dispute Summit, one of the panels, which was hosted by Sir Imogen Mangaldas for the Dispute Summit in 2020. Below, we have one of our Mumbai summits from 2018. I believe this is Blackstone Chambers with the International Disputes panel. And then here around, you can see some of the networking that's going on, some of the questions which is being asked. And yeah, we look forward to more of the same in 2023. Here you see our GC Power List from 2019. So this is the event that we did in Delhi. Of course, very, very different. It's more for a networking cocktail reception. Dinner is served. Pictures are taken. It's just a great evening in general. And here we see some of the law firms who have previously sponsored events with the Legal 500. Of course, coming from law firms based in India to then law firms based in the UK to overseas. I should also mention here that any law firm who does sponsor an event with the Legal 500 will always have first refusal on the same event that we do next year as well. So the Legal 500 webinars, as many of you know, since the Legal 500, or since the global community has been under the pandemic, physical events were halted, and we had to find a way to keep content being driven and keep connecting our clients with our audience. And the Legal 500 webinars really took off. Within the last 12 months, I'd say we've had over 150 to 200 webinars. Each webinar is a 60 to 90 minute live feature, which is hosted by a Legal 500 editor on Zoom. The Legal 500 would be responsible for all of the organization. The live session will go out to all Legal 500 contacts with our delegate acquisitions team, targeting the sponsoring for law firms' desired audience. We then look to edit the recording and add it to our on-demand webinars for a period of 12 months. So again, similar to how this webinar will be conducted, post the webinar, it'll be placed within our on-demand section, so then clients can come back to view this webinar whenever they would like and to refer to anything. And then of course, with contact details provided, they can reach out to any of the sponsoring law firms or any of the contacts at the Legal 500 when and how they please. You are the only private firm on this session. So we tend to recommend about 5 attendees in general. So maybe 2 to 3 from the law firm. We can then look to approach, another 1 or 2 GCs / industry experts to give a balance to the discussion, which is important. And the Legal 500 can help you in approaching these guests, or if you had guests which you would like to invite yourself to the session, that would also be perfectly fine. And finally, approaching the Asia Pacific submissions, especially after the rankings are released, we have a lot of law firms who like to approach both myself and the researchers to ask for feedback on their submissions. Now, feedback is provided to any law firm with a firm profile in place, but this will be kind of a basic research on your submission. So kind of how our researchers came to their decisions, and maybe some brief points on how you can improve for the following round of submissions. Now, if you were looking for something which was, more in depth, looking at, really, what is our firm's reputation in the market? What do our clients really think of us? How do we compare to other firms in the market? And again, how can our Legal 500 submission be improved? Research Plus would be the bespoke service that will be able to answer those questions for you. It's conducted alongside the regular Legal 500 research process, which allows us to actually provide the extensive and independent research into your firm's market reputation, which is conducted by the research team. The report itself will look for feedback on the firm's market reputation. How does the firm compare to peers and competitors? Client comments and testimonials, both positive and negative. Analysis of your submission with suggestions of improvement. And you will also have early access to your firm and individual rankings. And so if this was an opportunity that you felt would be of interest to the firm, I would advise you to register your interest as soon as possible, considering our deadline is approaching on the 10th of June for the submissions. And the person to speak to would be my colleague, Ian Plummer, where you can see his contact information listed on this slide as such. So Ian will be able to provide you with more information on the opportunity alongside the pricing itself. And that concludes our webinar today. I want to thank everyone for joining in. I hope this was a session which added a lot of value to you and helped you to prepare in the best way possible. Of course, if you do have any questions about any of the research process or how your firm can be more involved with the Legal 500 from a commercial perspective, both Bay and my emails are listed below. Please feel free to reach out to us on email, connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd be really glad to hear from you and answer any questions that you may have. I'll stop sharing the screen now, as I know that we do have some questions for Q&A, and let us move on to this section.
Okay, I can see some questions and I'm happy to address them as I think they're quite interesting questions. So for example, the first one, where can we mention the city name in the submission template, India City Focus? So the India City Focus sections have a dedicated submission template, and each city and the practice areas we cover will appear in the drop-down options in the practice area tab. And this also applies to the referee spreadsheet as well. You'll be able to select specific city or city practice area, for example, Mumbai, banking and finance in the referee spreadsheet. So make sure you select the correct one. Can a law firm apply for national rankings and separately apply for city-based rankings? Yes, I think I touched upon that in my presentation as well. You can definitely apply for both of them, and it will be decided by our researcher whether the firm is best ranked in the national rankings or the city-focused sections. And if a firm is ranked in one particular practice area in the national rankings, then there's a possibility those firms might be able to rank in the city focus sections. What we're preventing to do is to rank the firms that are already ranked in the national rankings in multiple practice areas, again, in the city focused sections. We want to highlight the prominent local firms in each city that we've identified as key cities in our newly launched city focused research. I see another question popped up. Let me just have a quick look. So how are the deals evaluated in the research? Is region the criteria? So there, in terms of the criteria for all these regional sections, their market presence in the city and region is assessed. However, if they do work with clients based in other cities, other regions, or indeed international clients, those work are also relevant matters, and I'd encourage you to put those in the submission too. Okay.
Yeah, we have one question to just come up here on the chat, which I'm just replying back to, but it's the submission sheets circulated to law firms. So our submission Word document and Excel spreadsheets for both the national and the city focus research are available to download from our website. So as Bay mentioned, all you would have to do is log on to the Legal 500 website. You would go to the About tab, and you would then scroll down to the submissions section, click on Asia Pacific, and here you have the Asia Pacific submission homepage. So you can download the Word document, you can download the national document, and also the city focus template. And this is also the section where you can find out which practice areas are covered in the practice areas for 2023. So, for example, I believe one of the changes that we have is that financial services is being renamed to fintech and financial services. So it's one of the updates that we had for this year, but everything will be accessible from that page itself.
And it's worth highlighting that if you decide to submit for both national rankings and city-focused sections, there are two separate submission templates you need to complete. So if you're submitting for national rankings, you need to download the general law firm submissions, and for city-focused sections, there's a specific city-focused submission template. I think that's about all the questions we have. And if you have any follow-up questions, our email address is included in our presentation today. Please do feel free to get in touch with either myself and Chris. And thank you very much for joining our session today. I hope you now have a better understanding of how we do our research, how to best take part in our research, how to best use the Legal 500 to showcase your firm in the Indian market, in the regional market, and in the global market indeed. And thank you very much for joining us today.